The Rosh, Rabbeinu Asher, one of the greatest of the Rishonim, one of the three Rishonim on which on whom the Beth Yosef based his Beth Yosef and the Shulchan Aruch, the Rambam, the Rif, and the Rosh. He was an Ashkenazi. He was born in Germany, Ashkenaz. It's true that at some point in his life, when he was about middle-aged, he had to flee from Germany, and he arrived in Spain, where he spent the rest of his life, because he was about to be, he got word that he was about to be arrested by the authorities, to be held for ransom, so to extort money from the Jewish community, as they had done to his Rav, Maharam Mirotenburg, Rabbeinu Meir Baruch Mirotenburg. They did exactly the same thing to his Rav, and he was kept in a dungeon for many years, and he told the Jews, do not pay the ransom, because it's against halakha to pay ransom, exorbitant ransom. And he died in jail. And eventually, after many years, the Jews couldn't take it any longer, that he wasn't even buried properly, and they coughed up a lot of money in order to be able to bury him. And the Rosh got word that this was about to be done to him as well. Obviously, the local duke or something needed some money to cover his overdraft or something. This is how things worked. So he, in the middle of the night, literally ran off to Spain, and he and all his family. So it's true that he lived some part of his life in Spain, but he was an Ashkenazi through and through. And it even comes out in some of his writings. He's very proud of his Ashkenazi background and learning, etc. The Ashkenazim considered themselves at that time, and with good reason, to be the leading Torah scholars of the time. And so there's no question that he was a proud and thoroughly through and through Ashkenazi. And he writes, on the basis of what we've learned so far, he writes as follows. This is source Hey, the bottom of page 1. Halakha is not like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri with regards to rice, etc. And therefore he says, anything which is not from the 5 species, it cannot become hames. And therefore, and you may cook it and eat it on Pesach. So says the Rosh. Now, what might a person say at this point? A diehard, pro-Kitniyot advocate, what might a person say? Well, the Rosh never knew about this minhag, so he doesn't talk about it. Not true. Definitely 100% not true. There's no question that the Rosh knew a lot about this minhag. He was entirely familiar with it, and he rejected it. And it's also clear that in his time, the Rosh we're talking about the first half of the 14th century, roughly. It's clear that in his time, it was not the widespread custom amongst the Ashkenazim not to eat Kitniyot on Pesach. There were certain communities or certain people who already spoke of this practice, but it wasn't the wide-held practice.
Thank you, Rabbi Bar-Hayim. We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. We would also like to suggest the following opportunity to our viewers. If you identify with Rabbi Bar-Hayim's message and would like to sponsor or dedicate a video interview with the rabbi in honor or memory of a loved one, if you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.